Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Here you will find all sorts of content about personal finance, side hustling, and launching a business, as well as a little bit of lifestyle stuff. So if that is what you are into, you are in the right place. You know what to do. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and come back here, stick around. I've got a lot more great content coming your way. But today what we're gonna talk about is some lifestyle choices, changes, whatever you want to call them, that Ben and I had to take on as we were launching our business. So a little bit of backstory. It was about 10 years ago, maybe a little over now, that Ben and I launched our first business, and that one was our moving business. We had been talking about starting a business for a very, very long time, but it just never seemed like it was the right time to do it. We had a lot of other things happening. You know, we were both working full time. We were just married. We had a baby. We were hoping to grow our family more. And so there were just a lot of things that were happening, but underneath it all, we really just felt like we had all these really, really big dreams and these ambitious, ideas and things that we wanted to do. And we just felt like if we didn't at least try, that we would never know. And I think there's definitely something to be said for there's never a right time to do something. So sometimes you have to just try it. You just have to jump in. So when we started our moving business, like I said, we were both working full time. We had one child. We were living in a small condo. Life was great. It was fine. I would say we weren't struggling to pay bills or anything like that, but we definitely weren't achieving the financial independence that we wanted to be achieving. And there just wasn't enough money kind of coming in. So we had to really make some choices when we decided to start this business. So first of all, we didn't have like a nest egg or an investment fund or like money set aside to start this moving business. And when you think of a moving business, I mean, we were doing residential moving, or at least that's what we were thinking of initially. So along with that comes, just filing the paperwork to start the business. You have to pay for that. If we wanted to have a website, a phone line, any sort of advertising, and then, oh, by the way, you have to pay people, and typically there's moving trucks involved, and all those things that come along with starting a business. There is something to be said for it takes money to make money. And so we had zero money to invest in this business. And so the only way we were going to be able to do it was by making some tough choices and really finding the money ourselves to invest into the business, because there was no separate fund sitting somewhere else. So the first thing that we did, first big sort of like bucket category, was really wrangle in the expenses. So by needing to use our own money to fuel this startup, we needed to have extra money. So we did like your typical normal things that you would think of. We stopped eating out. There were no more, $5 Starbucks lattes. I did some interesting things where, instead of buying like the fancy beer, we bought like your Miller Lite or, your Budweiser type of beer. We weren't getting craft beers or anything like that. But that kind of like fell under the category of just like really reining in the grocery budget. So I only bought food that was on sale. Didn't matter if we wanted, chicken or a particular type of meal for the evening. We were eating what was going to be on sale. With that, I was the only one that was doing the grocery shopping, so I really, really reined it in. I mean, I got crazy with it. But I kind of like that. I have to say, between Ben and I'm definitely the one that really likes kind of like budgeting and being very, very frugal. So I loved it. But I reined in the grocery budget big time, big time. That was back when extreme couponing was also a thing, and so I got into couponing, and I just did anything and everything I could to bring down the cost of food. The other thing is that with our babies, I breastfed for as long as possible. I was very fortunate that my children took to it naturally, and I had enough of a milk supply, so that was one thing where it was like if we didn't have to buy formula, that was fantastic. For a period of time, I also cloth diapered our littles. That, well, I think, initially I started, thinking like it was gonna save us some money. I think it did in the long run, but man, you gotta be committed to cloth diapering because it is not easy, but that was definitely a thing that we did. Any sort of like clothing expenditures, I cut back on those big time. So we only bought clothes that we absolutely needed. Otherwise, we wore what was in our closet. And I have to say, like, you know, we didn't have like fancy jobs, but I particularly still needed to like dress up for work. And Ben, he could wear like jeans and t-shirt, that kind of thing. So that was awesome. But we basically just wore all the clothes that we had. We did not do a lot of shopping, going to the mall, extra kind of stuff. For the kids, oh my goodness, like kids grow out of their clothes so fast. They don't care if they're dressed, you know, in Jordans or if they've got, you know, just cute little shoes from Target. So what I did for the kids was I took any hand-me-down that I could get my hands on. I actually proactively reached out to people and just said, hey, you know, if you have anything, you know, that your kids are outgrowing and you're going to donate it, or you're looking for somebody to pass it off to, please send it to me. I will make good use of it. Anything that we didn't use, I then pass it on to somebody else that could use it. So I used, I mean, any network that I had, friends, family, coworkers, whatever, and we used all the hand-me-downs that we got, both for clothing as well as any sort of furniture, as well as toys. I don't think I bought a toy for Vincent and Isla for like the first 4 years of their life. We got great hand-me-downs from members of our family. We got some from our neighbors, and then anything extra that we had, I passed it off to somebody else. But I mean, they had all the toys you could ever want or imagine, but we didn't have to pay a penny for it. So that was awesome. We also made great use of the library. So I was very into, you know, all things about raising my children, as well as starting a business and just, you know, other things that I wanted to learn about or read about. I went to the library. We got books there. We also had the kids attend programs. They had, you know, free reading programs and whatnot. And then we also rented DVDs, which was kind of fun. And we rented DVDs both for Ben and myself to just, you know, watch. And then the kids, oh my God, the kid DVDs were amazing. So didn't have to buy any of the entertainment. We just went to the library. We cut cable. Back in the day when streaming was not a thing, did not exist. Like if you wanted the cool programs on TV, you had to pay for cable. We cut it and it hurt. I'm telling you, like it hurt, like I missed it. But it was just something that we needed to do. One other thing though is that we were very fortunate to have a reduced gym membership. So it was an added incentive for me to go to the gym and work out because I got a couple hours of free childcare out of it. They would watch the kids while you know, go and work out, and they had cable TV there. So oddly enough, I would start to time my workouts around when some of my favorite programs were going to be on TV. You gotta do what you gotta do. I started cooking at home and trying all sorts of new dishes. I mean, I have to say, like, I came into our marriage, you know, having a tiny bit of knowledge around cooking. I could cook some basic things, but since we weren't going out to eat, but we enjoy eating really nice, delicious, yummy food, I had to figure out a way to learn how to cook it. And Ben had fun doing that too. So along the way, we learned how to cook. So that was a great thing that we took on. We hosted kids' birthday parties at home, which I have to say was extraordinarily stressful because big events like that just kind of like up my anxiety level. I don't really like doing it. I would rather go somewhere else. I don't like a ton of people in my home, but at the same time, we didn't have like $500 to drop on a birthday party. And I mean, that's kind of like the average going rate around here. If you want to have a birthday party for your kid and their friends and have some pizza and ice cream, it's $500. So, you know, I probably spent like maybe $100 having it at our house, and any sort of additional money that we had went straight into our business. Along with sort of like wrangling in our spending, we also tried to side hustle a lot more, sell things on Craigslist, and just sort of like sell anything that we had to like make extra money. So side hustling, I have like a side hustling addiction, I have to admit. I mean, I've done anything and everything that I could, you know. I know how to sew, and so for a while I did alterations for people. You know, we just did everything. We did anything and everything. I've been selling on eBay and Poshmark. Poshmark's a new one. eBay I have been doing for like well over a decade. So I've always been selling things. We also would sell things on Craigslist, and I can't tell you like how much stuff I sold just by listing it on Craigslist and just whoop out the door and cash in hand, which was amazing. One of the other, I would say, more extreme things that we did was we sold a car. So back then we had 2 cars. Each of us had our own car, and then we had a classic car that was you know, gifted to us. So we had 3 in total, I guess, but one you could only drive like a few months during the year, like the classic collectible car. And so of our 2, we decided to sell my car. It was just sort of, it was a great car. You know, we made, gosh, I don't know, maybe like 5,000 or so selling it, but it was just, it was a decision. It was a decision that we made. It was painful at times, but you gotta do what you gotta do. So we sold that car, and I took the bus to work for maybe like a year and a half. It wasn't bad. It's just that we don't live really close to like the downtown area. Like we're further out in the suburbs. And so by taking the bus, I mean, I had like a 45 to 55 minute commute one way every day. So it was inconvenient, I will say that, but I kind of liked getting the $5,000, not gonna lie. One more thing I wanted to note is that along with sort of like saving money and, you know, watching, you know, what we were spending and side hustling and selling stuff, we became so much more capable and enabled to take on other tasks around the house or jobs around the house that we typically otherwise would not have. So obviously like cooking and cleaning, like, yeah, that's like basic, you know, it's basic human functioning. But there were times where the garbage disposal broke. It's expensive to call a plumber or a handyman to come out and fix that kind of stuff for you. So what is awesome is we have this thing called the World Wide Web, and you just Google things up, or you go on YouTube and you Google it up, and there's so much information that tells you how to fix things around your house. I have fixed our garbage disposal. I took apart our washing machine, messing my words up here. I took apart our washing machine probably 3 times in total. It was an older machine, it worked great, but it just, you know, I think I replaced like the water pump, I replaced some belts, and I think at one point in time a kid's sock got like sucked up and stuck somewhere in like the motor. I took it apart. I also took our dryer apart because it was like not turning, or there was something that was messed up in it. So I fixed it. So I didn't just take it apart, like I actually fixed it. We retiled our own flooring in our condo. We redid the bathroom. We finished our basement. Like we really just learned stuff. Like we DIY, like, you know, sucked into that topic there, and we just learned stuff. And if you're lucky, you have somebody who can help you along the way. If you're not, get as far as you can, and then if you have to, like, hire out for some specialized services. But we took on a lot of tasks that we typically would not have, and it proved highly beneficial. Both just knowing how to fix things is amazing. Like you feel, you know, like a superhuman, and it saves you a lot of money. So word to the wise. The second big thing that we did, so we just talked about, you know, wrangling in the expenses, like all like the financial stuff, right? So that you have money to fuel into your business, into your bootstrap startup. The second thing that we did though was we had to be very, very planful and yet flexible. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. So we had to be very planful because there was a period of time where after I had Vincent and we wanted to have another baby, if we were going to have that second baby, I could not afford to work full time and send 2 children to daycare. I would have been losing money by doing that. So we made the tough decision to have me stay home and take care of the kids. I shouldn't say it was a tough decision. It was something I wanted to try anyways, but in the back of my head, like I just know, like I really like doing business type of stuff, and so I was kind of worried about what that life might look like for me. But it turned out well, and financially it just made sense. Like it would have been stupid for me to stay working and literally be losing money every month. Like that's dumb. So I stayed home. But by staying home with the kids, and again, only having one car, we had to be very planful. So there were days where I would drive Ben to work, and then I'd go to the gym and work out, and then I would go grocery shopping, and then later I would go and pick him up, or sometimes he would hitch a ride home with somebody else. So we had to be very, very planful from that perspective, but we also had to be very, very flexible. So when we started this moving business, I mean, we were not only funding it, but we were doing all of the things, all the administrative work, all the taxes, picking up the phone, doing the quotes, everything. And he was actually going out on all the jobs, and he was still working like a full-time job. So he literally at that point in time, I think he had like 3 jobs, and I was doing all the stuff around the house and doing all the administrative stuff with the moving business. So we were just really crazy running around. So you can imagine, while yes, part of it is who's gonna pick up who where, and who's gonna drop off who at what time, and you've got doctor appointments and just extracurriculars and stuff. But there's also a certain amount of, hey, we booked a job for this weekend. I need the car, or you need to drop me off here or there, or we gotta figure something out. And so there was a lot of, I would say, we sort of like outlined what the day or the week might look like in terms of who's gonna be where, who's gonna have the car, what are sort of like the big activities. But at any point in time, it could be like, if that phone rings and there's somebody that says, hey, my movers that we hired for this weekend totally backed out on me. Do you guys have any availability? We were like, yes, we do. And so we would just figure it out then, you know, like even if we had something else planned, I'd be like, all right, well, I will get you to where you need to go. And I got the kids, I got the stuff on the home front, and you do what you got to do. So we had to be very planful, but very, very flexible. And I have to say, like, so that was like 10 years ago when we were first starting the business. It's still like that today. Like, entrepreneurial life does not change. Like, it doesn't get easier in terms of the scheduling. If anything, I think it just has gotten a little bit crazier, because as the kids get older, they have more activities and there's a lot more business happening. So yeah, that's one that I think we still are sort of like navigating through. But it's really important. Like, you have to plan for things, but you also have to be flexible enough to be able to adapt and change, and, you know, still continue to drive towards those goals that you have. Okay, the last thing that we changed. So if you recall, the first one is like your expenses, wrangling those things in, right? You know, make sure you have enough money to bootstrap your business. The second one is being very planful and yet flexible, so you're going to enable yourself to actually get it all done. The third thing that we did, and this was something that I know people talk about, but we didn't know like how to do it, and I honestly think it sort of magically happened to us. Like, I'm going to be totally transparent. Well, maybe I feel like it magically happened to us, but Ben probably has a different perspective on it. So I would say like a couple years into doing the moving business as a side hustle, because he was still working a different full-time job, we really talked about, like, if we want to take this thing full-time, I needed to go back to work, and I was going to hold down the fort in terms of like making the day-to-day money, having the benefits, all that kind of stuff. And then he was going to quit his full-time job and then take the moving company side hustle and make that his #1 gig. So we made that decision, and it was like this kind of like crazy leap of faith, right? Like, we knew we had like the finances in order, at least like enough so that we could try it for like a good 6 months. We're like, 6 months, we can do it, we'll figure it out. But the best thing was that when Ben left his full-time job and he went to I would say like work with this other group of guys, you know, they weren't part of the moving business, but he knew them from, you know, I would say like past lives, like from high school and just from, you know, like friends that he had. They ran their own businesses. So when he left his full-time job and decided to do the moving business full-time, he actually had an office. They had a room there, or like an extra office, and they were like, hey, like whenever you're ready, like just come here and hang out here and let's, you know, let's chat, let's talk. So that's what he did. He left the full-time gig and went and kind of set up shop in this other, I don't know what you would call it, but whatever. They all have their own businesses, but they all sort of like share an office space, if you can envision that. So when he was there, he was surrounded with like-minded people that were not like coming home and just pissed off about their boss or their work or not being passionate. He was surrounded with people who were like, if you want something, you just got to go get it. Like, they think so much more opportunistically. They think about, you know, not the downsides of things or why I can't do something. They were like, well, if that's something that you think you want to do, like, let's run the numbers. Let's see if that's going to be profitable, and let's see if that's, you know, something you should do, and then we'll help you do it. And when I say help you do it, I don't mean that they were like doing it for him, but they were like, they were an ear for him, you know, to like talk to, or like people that he could bounce ideas off of, people that would give him advice. So a couple of these guys, a good handful of them, they are older than us, and they had been in business for themselves for a long period of time. They knew everything about like hiring an accountant, getting a lawyer. What happens if somebody, you know, threatens you or tries to sue you or take you to small claims? Like, they were just a wealth of knowledge. And what happened was, when he was surrounded with those individuals, and I went back to work with like the mindset of like, hey, I'm gonna hold it down here so he can go and grow that business, and we're gonna like figure this out collectively together. It really just, I feel like we had like a mindset shift. We went from being like, oh my God, like, I don't make enough money, I'm not passionate, what am I gonna do with my life, to we're doing it. And it's on us to make it happen. And it was probably like one of, you know, aside from like, I would say the one exception would be, or aside from like actually starting the company itself, that was like the biggest impact for us. And it's still very impactful. He still has an office, you know, right with those guys. They're doing different kinds of business. I think they all collectively do property management. I think that definitely is their thing. And then he probably has like a franchise piece or something. I don't know. I don't get too much into that. But they have all these really cool, great ideas about starting businesses. So I know that if there's ever a time that I decide to leave corporate America, like, those are the people I'm gonna be like, hey, I have this wacky idea, what do you think? But I just really want to stress, like, it's so important that you surround yourself with like-minded people, because it just makes it that much easier. And, you know, you can kind of like build off of each other when you're thinking of ideas, or if you run into a problem, you know, maybe it's something that you just don't know what to do. You've got somebody, you have a mentor that you can talk to. So that was a huge thing. So those are my big three, I would say, my big three categories for things that you should do if you are thinking of starting a business, when it comes to like making some lifestyle changes. That's what worked for us. There's a whole host of other things that we have done along the way, or that have sort of like evolved, and, you know, they just sort of happen. You know, some things you make decisions on, others, I guess they just happen. But I really just wanted to put this video out there. So if you're thinking of starting a business, and maybe you're just like, I don't have enough money, or you have all these thoughts of like, well, what if this happens? You know, what if that happens? Like, who do I ask? You know, all these questions that I have too. Like, first of all, like, if you have a question, please put it in the comments below, because I love talking about launching businesses and side hustling, and I love like budget lifestyle, that kind of stuff too. So if you have questions, let me know. But, you know, it just takes like some initiative, some want, and some drive to start a business, and then probably some lifestyle changes. If you don't have any money, you know, not everybody has, you know, a nest egg of, you know, 10, 20, or $100,000 sitting out there to start, you know, whatever business they want. So you got to just make some choices. But along the way, I mean, I have to say, even though sometimes it felt like, you know, we were hyper constricting, or maybe I was just hyper constricting. I don't think Ben was, but I was like really, really focused on it. The thing is like, it just set me up for success for the years to come, because the things that I learned and the things that Ben learned in those first couple years of starting our moving business have carried over to today. And not a lot of it has really changed. Like, we still just have ingrained sort of like these lifestyle changes and, you know, things that we want to do that are going to help us, you know, launch that next business that we have. So with that, I hope you found this video helpful. If you like it, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, you know, like, you know, all the things to do. If you have any questions, put them below in the comment section. I love talking about business. So that's all I got, I think, for today. Hope you liked the video, and I will see you next time.